Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News, and we have Clayton Echard back in court today. And he says in his last court appearance for this, I believe, injunction against harassment. Do I have this right here, folks? It gets confusing because there's multiple court cases going on. But he said, "I 1,000% believe she is not pregnant with my twins," responding to Jane Doe, who was visibly looking pregnant as far as her Zoom photos could go. She had a baby bump, and he says she might be pregnant, but not with my twins. So today that court case is going to resume. Whether or not it is publicly live streamed is still up for debate. I'm going to share a clip with you guys, and here's the court calendar for Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 in the Superior Court of Maricopa County. So you see right here when you search for Clayton that he has a case number and his hearing is in person. It doesn't say that it's live streamed, but that of course could change when you look at it here. If you search for Echard, we're doing up-to-date searching here. Still says in person. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm not going to live stream it either way. I'm not allowed to. But I will share a clip right here of just Clayton speaking. It's very blurry because it's on an iPad or whatever they used to shoot this live stream here. But have a listen to what he said last court appearance for this case. Now, I have to tell you, this wasn't supposed to drag on to a second day, but they didn't get done with the evidence. Clayton was representing himself, did not know the live stream was happening, along with Jane Doe, did not know the live stream was happening. Will that be a reason why they prevent the live stream from the future? Maybe. This could have been an example where they just didn't know what they were getting themselves into. It is my full belief that both Clayton and the lady that he is in court with, both were surprised that it was live streamed.
I went public and stated I signed up for a prenatal paternity test. Now she needs to schedule her part. I then placed that upon her to schedule her portion. And then as people knew that she had to schedule it, she then scheduled. But the test came back little to no fetal DNA present, which would track with her not actually being 5 months pregnant with twins, because if she had twins, then there would be fetal DNA present.
So he says that the reason why he wasn't harassing her, and he's basically saying, look, the test said no fetal DNA, which means she's not pregnant. She, of course, says there needs to be another test taken.
She claims that there was an issue with the sample. She then submitted another sample that got caught up in Tennessee or wherever. It didn't make its way there. I can give my own opinion on what I believe happened, and I believe the message may have been intercepted, but I do not know that.
He believes that the latest blood sample that she was supposed to take was intercepted, and that's why it was delayed and took too long. That's his belief. That's his opinion. It's not illegal to have that opinion.
But I know that when she tests again, it's going to come back the same thing. I do not believe, at this point, I'm not technically questioning that she's not pregnant, because I do believe she may have gotten pregnant to corroborate her story, but I 1,000% she does not believe that she's not 5 months pregnant with my twins. And that ultrasound that I have, she would not call the facility when I met with the mediator at the early resolution conference. She would not get on the phone and make a phone call to just state, did I in fact come to this facility? Because I believe she never went to that facility, and that is a falsified medical record.
So Clayton is accusing Jane Doe here of a falsified medical record. We're going to get back to that in a second. Whether it's by definition medical fraud or not, it appears to be, from all accounts we've seen, fake, in the sense that it is not from her belly. It is from someone else's belly that was 6 years ago, right? But we'll get into that in a second. So anyway, here are several emails I received. Now, I have to tell you this. We made a GoFundMe for Clayton. It received, I think, $7,500, hit his max, and then people made a GoFundMe for me once I was threatened with legal action. Of course, last week I was expecting to be served court documents for a temporary restraining order against me by someone I've never met before, which is a heavy thing to do because, the court system, restraining orders are based on people that are afraid of physical harm, and it's nobody that's even near me, someone I've never met. Either way, she of course got my address which whether that's stalking or not, it's up to you to decide. And she responded by saying, I didn't stalk you. I just simply Googled your name and address and I found it online. So just because it's easy to find my address, I guess, whatever. It's not like she doxed me publicly. I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is what I believe, my opinion, is that it's an abuse of the court system, and that I'm, being taken to court to silence me, somebody who's just covering this public case. I mean, it was streamed publicly, right? We're allowed to talk about this. I believe, and again, I'm going to share that letter with you, but I believe that the reason why I'm being targeted is because I am the lead content creator of Bachelor News on the daily when it comes to YouTube videos and things like that. So because I'm the lead person showing this evidence, I'm the main target. And that's another reason why there's probably a hint of bitterness that I have towards some content creators for not covering this story, because it really just makes me the fall guy for all of the litigation that seems to be following. So either way, she said she was disappointed not to hear back from me. This was from a few days ago. She offered to have my medical she offered to rescind her restraining order and protective order and injunction against harassment on me. She offered to take those down if I deleted all my videos. And I thought long and hard, and I said, I have nothing that I feel I've done wrong here, so that's why I'm not going to be what I believe to be bullied or pushed around in this arena. She said she offered to have her medical provider send me records directly in an attempt to get me to stop defaming her. She said, that tells me that you are not interested in the truth. There are obviously still videos online about me, and even the videos you deleted were publicly available for weeks. I am anticipating that you will be covering the continuance of the injunction against harassment hearing on Thursday, which would just add to the list of the reasons why I am seeking my own against you. So she's seeking an injunction against harassment against me because I'm covering a court case where I don't say her name or show her identity or any of that. It's like, honestly, I could just be showing all of that. It was streamed publicly. I could be showing all of the public records with her name and her podcast and all these things. I've chosen not to do that so that she wouldn't have this case against me, but it's just never enough. I deleted 19 or 21 videos. It wasn't enough. Should I just make them public again? It's nothing that I really don't stand by. So anyway, she says, I have had concrete proof that has backed up my side. For you to suspect that I am not a survivor of domestic abuse, and again, this has nothing to do with her being a survivor of domestic abuse. She very well could be a survivor of domestic abuse. It's irrelevant to this conversation. She said, you have no idea what I've been through, and as you've said, you never would have questioned my story if I didn't have a history. This type of victim shaming is deeply troubling. Well, that's not exactly what I said, so she's conflating a lot of things. It's easier to not believe her because of all of the people that have had similar instances where they believe where they believe she has fabricated evidence and court letterheads and things like that. I'm not saying that's a fact or not, but that's what has been alleged in court cases previously. She said, I know you see this story as a way for you to make money, as you've said that your Patreon downloads have doubled, and you've proudly showed in your Instagram story from this past weekend that your numbers have gone up since you started to cover this. You've said all along that you are about vindicating Clayton and allowing him to speak his truth. The fact is that no one was there on May 20th besides me and Clayton, yet you act like an authority on the situation. You come off like you think you were a fly on the wall that night. So the deal is this. She can share all the evidence she wants, but when you share evidence, like the scientific method is about questioning that evidence, and she really hasn't shared evidence that really means anything. She'll share notes from her neurologist that say she's pregnant, but the neurologist isn't holding the ultrasound stick and showing a baby in her body, and maybe she has one, you know what I mean, for all I know, which would be confusing because the results initially showed no fetal DNA, so maybe she's recently pregnant. Who knows, right, folks? Who knows? But just because she's provided evidence, she wants me to just accept her evidence, and that's just not how it works, especially in a case that would be so obvious to prove a pregnancy. Everything's all about, I'll send you these documents, I'll send you those documents, but what she won't do is just get on a FaceTime call or have an interview or do anything like that. Now, the question of how I monetize my content. My YouTube videos make money. I mean, money is time. Everything people do is an exchange of money in one way or another, right? It's an exchange of equity. It's an exchange. My Patreon has increased primarily because audiences want to support me because they understand I'm covering this story as an independent commentator or journalist, depending on if I'm commenting on things that already exist or providing new evidence that's out there, right? So, I mean, is that a reason to say that things aren't true because someone's making money off of it? As far as the downloads go for the podcast, as a podcast host, she should understand that the money that I've received really has little to do with what I talk about on the podcast. It has more to do with the economy and the ad rates that exist. So have my numbers gone up since I've started covering this? A little bit, but also my podcast is only 1 year old. So the numbers have gone up every month of my podcast, including the 10 months before this case happened, numbers increased and downloads went up. But you can make a case that it has very little to do with this actual court case. As far as YouTube's concerned, my numbers are cut in half. My numbers for the last 2 months are way below my normal average. I don't believe that's attributed to my coverage of this case. I'm not using that to say, oh, it's sinking my case. I'm just using it to say, hey, numbers fluctuate, but that ain't it. All right, so she says things like, I'll read the last paragraph. If you plan to make my life into a documentary, which, by the way, I don't, I do believe there will be a documentary. If you had to ask me to bet on it, I do believe this is as interesting enough for a documentary. She said, as a woman who has had medically proven pregnancies and abortions and had domestic violence witnessed by others, then I will fight you every step of the way. In your again, that has nothing to do with the reasons why I think this would be a fascinating documentary. In your recap episode called Bachelor Clayton Goes to Court, you said you want to discuss this case till people knock my walls down and rip the laptop out of my hands. That sounds fair. At 6 minutes, you allege that I am lying, not just under oath, but with medical fraud left and right. If that's the truth, then that's a price and a consequence she will have to pay for. Again, those seem like legally perfect sentences. She says, those are extremely serious allegations that mean when a doctor, nurse, or other healthcare official defrauds an individual for personal gain. I am none of those. So she's already building a defense against medical fraud. Again, and the places where we considered it to be medical fraud were the Instagram video that we'll share in a second. Healthcare fraud can be committed by medical providers, patients, and others who intentionally deceive the healthcare system to receive unlawful benefits or payments. All right, so you could say her motive's not to receive unlawful benefits or payments, but if there is fraud, or whatever it would be called in the court system, where images are doctored to prove a point, to win a court case over someone else, if that is not true, wouldn't that be similar to lying under oath? Anyway, so here's the video, of course, that I shared, which I stand by, and this is proof. And she's called me a lousy journalist, and maybe she's right. I'm not exactly the claiming to be an excellent journalist, but what I am claiming is that this video from 6 years ago on the top, this 6-year-old ultrasound, is the exact same one that she claimed to be hers. Now you might say, well, that doesn't mean she is the one that released it. Fair enough, but she did send this file to Reality Steve. She did upload this file publicly to her Dropbox, which she had publicly shared on Reddit. She did tell me that if I shared it, I'd be violating her HIPAA rights, which is A, not true, and B, if it's not yours, then why would it be violating your HIPAA rights? She then claimed after this was exposed that it was an ex who was out to get her. That's the MO, it seems, is that she puts this all on other people, which you're about to see. She also put on me that I'm the conspirator who created this hate campaign against her. She said, hey, Dave, after I didn't respond. Again, these are after emails where I told her, please stop responding to me. I'm asking you to cease communication with me. She responded, hi, Dave, just wanted to give you a heads up that the process server will be moving forward with filing the TRO and injunction against harassment. I held off to give you a chance to drop everything, but your response made it clear that we need to proceed. And again, I had my lawyer respond saying, let's save you some money because it costs a lot of money to hire a process server. And my lawyer offered to give her the chance to email him and serve him directly on my behalf, which essentially means she doesn't have to spend the extra money. So here we are helping her save a buck or two, because it can be pretty expensive, going to court, which is why my audience has raised very quickly, I believe $6,000 or $7,000 on my behalf. We have shut down the GoFundMe. If it looks like we'll need more money than that, we'll open the GoFundMe again, and we'll let you guys know until there's a gag order. We'll let you all know the process and legally, share as much of it as I can. She said, you've been reckless with the truth. like when you talked about those leaked court documents. Those had already been proven false, but you didn't bother asking for clarification before publishing them. And my response to that is, where was it proved false? These are the court documents. I alleged that the court documents show shocking fraud and deceit. It doesn't mean I'm saying there's shocking fraud and deceit, just that the court documents do. It appears that she claims to have won this case. I haven't seen that evidence. So she continues to say, you're sharing all of my personal things. And then when I don't share them, she says, you're not sharing my side. And when I plead with her to share me the evidence that this sonogram isn't faked, when they claim a reverse Google search takes it back to a takes it back to a blog from 2015, show me that proof. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm a teacher and I'm just asking the student to show their work here. So my DMs were open. I've asked her to stop talking to me now, but in good faith, I was willing to hear her side. I mean, we heard her side first when she leaked all of this in her Pearl Harbor-like attack on Clayton Echard, when she leaked all of this information that made her look like she was in the right, redacting the information that they had oral sex, and now privately she claims that there's more to the story. So anyway, she says, those have clearly been proven false, the documents, but you didn't bother asking for clarification. In addition, according to MTSU's First Amendment Center, defamatory comments might include false comments that a person committed a particular crime or engaged in certain sexual activities. You even said that evidence of my pregnancy doesn't change your opinion. You're trying to cast doubt on me to your audience, even though you actually know the truth. Like I said before, just because she's providing evidence doesn't mean it's evidence that is changing my opinion. My opinion stands the same. Now, could I possibly be charged with harassing somebody because my opinion is different than theirs? That would be wild. She said, I have discussed this situation at length, and he has assured me that your internet sleuthing into my reproductive history would not be looked upon well by the courts there. Well, that's what we're going to find out, right? She said, you mentioned getting your information from Reddit, and you've encouraged that community to keep the discussion going. I was even able to associate you as the perpetrator behind a particularly harassing and bullying account. I can tell you right now, from the bottom of my heart, that I 100% am not the perpetrator behind a particularly harassing, bullying account. That is ridiculous. I don't understand what she's trying to say there. The impact of your obsession isn't just affecting me, but also my mother. We've had to deal with over 30 negative reviews on Apple Podcasts unrelated to our show. Our show's rating on Spotify dropped 4.9 to 1.9. Your actions have resulted in financial losses for us, since our biggest advertiser, Ritual and Shopify, received messages asking them to drop us as clients. As a fellow content creator, I hope you understand the repercussions. Now, I'm not saying that she is not a content creator, but it is my belief that she hasn't even released new episodes in a long time, although her podcast this month has like 20 new episodes or something like that. I was skimming through them. It appears to be just recycled content. Whether or not she actually lost money, she said that Ritual and Shopify received messages, and I don't know how she's going to prove that that resulted in financial loss. How can something that's not making money lose money? Now, was the podcast making money from recycled content? Maybe. I'm not really sure. But I'd be interested in court to see her evidence behind those accusations. So anyway, I've made the claim that the ultrasound's fake. How to create a fake ultrasound? I mean, it's not rocket science, right? Someone even posted this last year from the University of Alabama. The most straightforward way would be to use an existing ultrasound. Boom, that was done. Modify the image if necessary and change the name. Boom, that was done. Move the film from one file to another. Boom, that was done. You might create a target and ultrasound model image and apply Photoshop generously. I don't believe she did enough photoshopping of the video because it was easy to see exactly where it came from. I guess her only claim is going to be that she didn't create the video, that it was implanted in her email and in her Dropbox by somebody else, even though she had every opportunity to say it wasn't hers when she was sharing it with Reality Steve. So are we to believe that the person who hacked her also sent the message to Reality Steve, and then she was also hacked again a week later? It's like, boy, we need to get her some two-factor authentication. Either way, folks, here's what we're dealing with. So while it might seem redundant to some, the story goes on. And even if it's proven that Clayton is not the father, I'm assuming that's not going to be enough to get her off of my back, legally speaking. We've got a lawyer that I've got good vibes with, who seems to really know his way around the court system. And that lawyer is going to help me navigate this process. I'm going to try my best to remain emotionless when it comes to dealing with this lawsuit. I believe in my innocence, and I believe in my authentic motivation behind covering this case. I mean, it's not like I opened this YouTube channel to just make videos about her. We cover Bachelor news, and it is my belief, and I have no problem sharing this with a judge, that this is the most fascinating Bachelor story of all time, period, hands down. This is it, folks. It's not receiving that much coverage right now. I've shared it with magazines like People Magazine, and the response I got was that due to it being a legal issue, no one wants to touch it. Which, you know, you can understand that, but at the same time, there's a reason why this isn't a full-blown story right now. My belief is if she moves forward with trying to get a restraining order against me, trying to get a injunction against harassment against me. This isn't a threat. It is my belief that my channel will grow 4 times the amount from covering this and from all of the other YouTube channels, podcasters, and content creators that will see the silencing that is being attempted right here. So it's the Barbara Streisand effect, and that means in an attempt to shut me down, she's just going to make this more and worse publicity for her. If she does come after me in the court system, it will also open up the ability to subpoena for certain court records that I believe will show that she is behind an account that is harassing me and is behind an account that is falsifying identities in order to cancel Clayton. This is all information that we will let play out in court, and then we will see what the judges think. I'm okay living by that. I'm not one who says, oh, the court system is unfair. I just think when it comes to family court and when it comes to orders of protection, judges will err on the side of protecting the woman in a situation like that, because physically speaking and, you know, statistically speaking, men commit more violence against women than women do against women or women against men. That you know, they always say the most dangerous man in your life technically is somebody close to you. And I understand and respect those statistics. With that said, that doesn't mean I believe Clayton is not telling the truth here. That is my opinion, and I'm sticking with it until we hear evidence that proves otherwise. We'll have to see if this is live streamed. I'll let you guys know. If it's public, it's public. If it's not, we won't share it. But either way, we're not going to share it over here. But we'll discuss whatever happens today. And lastly, as Jane Doe alleged that I never talked about her winning the temporary restraining order against Clayton. That is untrue, and you can look at the records to prove that. So either way, we're going to discuss whatever happens after today, and we'll see how it all goes from there. Leave a comment. If you want to join the Patreon, you are allowed to. I won't stop you from donating money to our cause, patreon.com/Dave Neal. We have received a surge of new Patreon members due to what they believe is me being harassed in an otherwise account, you know, my YouTube channel that's got a pretty good mark of trying to do the right thing and trying to be respectful and trying to play by the law and not defame people, again, never saying her name, things like that. So if you appreciate what we do, patreon.com/Dave Neal. We'll have more on the live stream today at 10 a.m. Bye, everybody.